let her believe I was nobody. I used to believe silence was strength, that if you stayed still long enough, people would show you who they really were. It's funny how right I was. My name's Rick. I'm 47, and I've spent most of my life hiding in plain sight. To most folks, I'm a logistics manager for a small-scale security company. Punch in, punch out, quiet, reliable, unremarkable. That's exactly how I like it. But before that, I spent 9 years as a Marine sniper. And after that, I spent 15 more in a job that doesn't officially exist until the Bureau decides it does. Let's just say, there are people out there who know me by a name that's not Rick, and even fewer who know what I've done for this country. But none of that mattered when I came home, because the one person I should have trusted, she wanted easy. I was still active at the time, meaning I'd leave for long stretches without being able to say where or why. But she didn't want effort. She wanted control. She lost interest altogether. It started small. Secretive texts. Locked phone. New passwords. I noticed everything. She thought I noticed nothing. I didn't say a word. I wanted to be sure. Not emotional. Not impulsive. So I ran a quiet trace. And what I found? It was calculation. His name was Michael. He'd met her at a healthcare conference. Then a friend. Then someone she felt alive with again. She didn't know I'd mirrored her phone months ago. Didn't know I was reading every word in real time. And still I didn't confront her. Why? Because some part of me wanted to see how far she'd go. What she'd risk. What story she'd build to justify it. She didn't disappoint. The first time she slept with him was the night of our 10th anniversary. I watched her lie to my face that morning. Work called me in. Short-staffed at the hospital. Even tucked a note in it like I used to. She never mentioned it. But he did in a text I wasn't supposed to see. Your husband's sweet. Does he pack your bags too? She replied with, he wouldn't know how to shoot a gun if it fell in his lap. That one made me laugh. See, Dana never asked what I did before we met. Not really. But the second it wasn't exciting anymore, she decided I was nothing special. So I gave her exactly that. I let her ignore me. Let her disrespect me. Let her build her little fantasy of who I was and wasn't. All while I watched and waited. But Dana wasn't just cheating. She was planning her exit. She'd already spoken to a lawyer. She was preparing to divorce me quietly and take half of everything. My savings. My retirement account under my cover name, not my real one. The one she knew about. She even said in a message to Michael, I can play the wounded wife. He's so emotionless, it won't be hard. That was the moment I stopped being angry and started being focused, because I'd spent my entire adult life preparing for hostile environments. And this was just another one. Dana thought I was boring, predictable. She didn't know I'd quietly purchased the house outright 5 years ago, under my real name with a different holding company. She didn't know I had an entirely separate asset line. And she was never legally married to the real me, only to the version of me that the FBI created. The paperman, the placeholder, and now, she was about to learn what happens when the paperman disappears. I let her think she was winning. After I saw that text, the one where Dana said she could play the wounded wife, I poured myself a glass of water, sat on the back porch, and listened to the wind roll through the trees. It was the kind of silence I'd learned to think in. People assume revenge is emotional, but when it's done right, it's clinical, strategic, surgical. Slow is smooth, smooth is silent, silent is final. I wasn't going to yell. I was going to let her walk herself right off the ledge. First thing I did, change my posture at home. I got a little colder, a little quieter, just enough to reinforce the story she was building in her head that I was emotionally distant, checked out, maybe even depressed. She ate it up, started staying out later, started getting bolder. It was like she was daring me to notice. So I let her believe I didn't. Meanwhile, I started moving money. The retirement account she thought I had. That one under my public name. But the real money, the accounts under my operative alias, had already been transferred to a series of holding trusts. Quiet, legal, completely separate from her reach. The house, legally owned by a shell company I set up years ago. Her name, never touched the deed. She was about to get half of nothing. The second thing I did, Dana was sloppy with her cheating, but careful with her image. So I made it easier for her. I created a secure duplicate of her phone data. Time-stamped everything. Location logs, messages, photos, voicemail, the works. But I didn't just save it. I had it notarized and time-stamped via third-party legal verification. Chain of custody. That way, if she ever tried to flip the script, I'd have a file that would shatter any courtroom narrative she tried to build. Around that time, Dana brought him to our house. She thought I was on a business trip, a security conference 3 states over. But I wasn't. I was parked 2 blocks down, watching through a scope from the roof of an old real estate office. Old habits. Watched her lead him through the house like it was hers to give. They used our bedroom. I recorded exactly 22 minutes of footage. Time-coded. High resolution. No audio. The next week, Dana brought up divorce. Not directly, of course. She played it soft, as maybe we'd grown apart. I nodded, said I understood. Didn't argue. Just stared out the window like I was processing. That was the moment she decided she'd won. From that point on, she got real sweet. Started cooking again. Tried to play wife for the first time in months. Even bought me a new watch. She thought I was about to hand her a clean, quiet divorce. She had no idea. I'd already contacted a lawyer of my own. Not just a lawyer, an asset defense specialist who used to do internal fraud investigations for the Bureau. He knew exactly what kind of legal knot I needed to tie. Here's the thing. Dana thought she knew who she married. A boring logistics guy with no backbone and a 9-to-5 job. She didn't know that man didn't exist. Didn't know I was trained to wait weeks for a single shot. Didn't know I'd spent years crafting entire identities. Just to disappear when the mission ended. By the end of the month, everything was in place. Every piece of evidence. Every legal document. Every financial move. Now I just needed her to make the next step. And she did. She served me the divorce papers on a Friday afternoon. Slid them across the kitchen counter like she was handing me a takeout menu. I think this is what's best for both of us, she said. I looked at the manila envelope, then at her, nodded once, then walked into my office, and came back with a folder of my own. It was thin, just a few documents, neatly arranged. I handed it to her. Didn't say a word. She opened it, and I watched her face start to change. The first page. The second, a notarized affidavit disclosing the full contents of my actual financial assets, none of which she had any legal claim to. The third, a signed waiver, already filed, stating that we'd never commingled our finances. Complete with digital evidence. She didn't speak for a full minute. Then she laughed. "That's cute," she said. "You're bluffing." I looked her in the eye and replied, "You cheated on a man who hasn't used his real name in 20 years. Her face dropped. She stood up, stormed into the bedroom, demanding I delete everything. I didn't move. She started yelling. A flash drive. Inside, every message, every photo, every location ping, and every hotel receipt. All linked, all time-coded, all court-admissible. She left that night. Didn't pack. Didn't slam the door. Just walked out and drove off. Like I used to do years ago, in enemy territory. The most dangerous people aren't the ones who scream. They're the ones who sit still and wait. She thought I'd stay silent. After Dana left that night, the house felt like a vacuum. No echo of her heels across the hardwood. No wine bottles left half empty on the counter. No forced small talk over silent dinners. Just quiet. Clean. Uncluttered. Mine. She didn't call the next day. Didn't text. Didn't rage or beg. But I knew her better than she thought. She waited. Plotted. Struck sideways like a snake. So I waited too. By Monday morning, the games had started. I was called into HR at the security firm I worked for, the one that covered my official civilian identity. My boss, Tom, sat across from me. He looked uncomfortable. "We got a complaint," he said. His hands fiddled with a pen. "Anonymous. Allegations about misconduct. At home." I didn't react. "Anything you want to tell us, Rick?" "Nope," I said calmly. "But I'll give you my lawyer's info if anything real comes in." He nodded, almost apologetically. Dana had made her first move. She was trying to tarnish my reputation, undermine my stability, get ahead of the narrative. But what she didn't know was that I'd already set the board. Before I ever handed her that flash drive, I'd reached out to a contact at the bureau. Let's call her Lydia. She owed me a favor and she paid it back tenfold. Lydia helped me file a quiet legal disclosure, a voluntary affidavit declaring the potential for false personal allegations by a soon-to-be ex-spouse attempting leverage during a contested split. She attached the full evidence chain, everything Dana had done. It was logged, time-stamped, federally recorded. So when Dana tried to drag me through the mud slipped off. But she didn't stop there. Someone had tried to access one of my accounts. Not the public one. Not the decoy retirement. One of the trusts. Which meant she'd gotten help, someone with real access. Or real skills. And that's when Michael stepped out of the shadows. Michael wasn't just her affair partner. He was a systems contractor, specialized in consulting, which in government speak can mean anything from cyber surveillance to asset manipulation. My guess, Dana had told him I was worth more than I let on. And now they were trying to dig. I needed proof, so I followed him. One night, Michael left Dana's new apartment around 9:15. He drove to a tech hub 2 cities over. I tailed him. Parked across from a co-working space he accessed with a keycard. Through a long lens camera, I caught the login screen on his laptop. Custom penetration software. He was trying to breach one of my holding firms. I sent one photo to Lydia. No words, just metadata and location. Within 72 hours, Michael's laptop was flagged by an anonymous internal tip for potential unauthorized access to protected entities. His company launched an audit. By the end of the week, Michael was suspended. Dana had no idea. The next time she called me, her tone had changed. Gone was the smugness. Gone was the passive-aggressive charm. She sounded fragile. "I'm sorry," she said. "I was confused. I never meant to hurt you." I didn't reply. Just listened to the static between her words. "I don't want to fight," she added. "Maybe we rushed things. Maybe we can, I don't know, talk." There it was. The walk back. The realization that I wasn't folding. That she wasn't dealing with a man who needed her anymore. I didn't speak. Didn't hang up either. I just let the silence sit. Eventually she did. My attorney filed a motion not for divorce, for intentional marital fraud. We weren't pursuing monetary damages. We were pursuing truth, intent, pattern, deception. This wasn't just about infidelity. It was about Dana knowingly building a false narrative to gain financially, with documented steps to destabilize my reputation and access protected assets. And the cherry on top, the legal firm, representing her, dropped her the moment they saw our evidence folder. That's when Dana did something I didn't expect. She showed up, on my porch. A shell of the woman who used to rehearse her reflection before leaving the house. She stood there for a while. Didn't knock, just stood. I opened the door. She looked up at me and whispered, "Was any of it real?" I didn't answer, just looked at her the way she used to look through me. She stepped back, turned to leave, then paused. "I told Michael you were just a paper man," she said softly. "Yeah," I replied. "And you believed it." She looked like she wanted to say more, but she didn't. She got in her car, drove off. This time I knew she wasn't coming back. But I wasn't done yet. Because Dana hadn't just tried to betray me. She'd underestimated me. Spat on everything I protected, my peace, my identity, my discipline. So I gave the final push. Legally. I sent an anonymous tip not to law enforcement but to a private watchdog site that tracks healthcare professionals with ethical violations. Attached timestamps, photos, details of her relationship with Michael, a contractor on a healthcare tech audit project, conflict of interest, professional misconduct. I didn't lie, just aligned the truth with the right lens. But they put her on unpaid leave pending investigation, which meant her income was gone, her reputation questioned, her relationship imploded, all without a single raised voice, all without her ever realizing the man she married had never even told her his real name. A month after Dana vanished from my porch, the house finally stopped smelling like her. It's strange the things that linger. Scented dryer sheets, that vanilla hand lotion she overused, the metallic bite of the cheap red wine she drank straight from the bottle when she thought I was asleep. The house was quiet now, but not empty, because I'd finally reclaimed it. And the life I lived inside it was no longer a cover. Her leave from the hospital turned into a suspension. I didn't ask how she took it. Didn't care. Michael never came back, at least not as her plus one. The audit buried him quietly. Blacklisted from future contracts. No fingerprints, just consequence. That's the beauty of strategic revenge. It doesn't scream, it just removes things, bit by bit, until the life someone built on lies collapses under its own weight. I wasn't looking for vindication. I was looking for closure. But something still bothered me. There was one final loose thread. The name. Not mine. Hers. Because while Dana had tried to destroy the man she thought I was, she'd never met the man I used to be. So I wrote her a letter. No signature. No return address. Just a crisp sheet of paper, folded once, left in her apartment mailbox. Inside it said, "The man you married never existed, but the man you betrayed never forgets." I included a copy of one thing. A photo she'd never seen. Me, in my sniper gear. Desert camo. Scope slung over my shoulder. Dust cloud behind me, sun just starting to set. No words on the back. Just a date. From 10 years before we met. She didn't respond. But I know she saw it. A week later, one of her old friends, Rachel, ran into me at the grocery store. She looked nervous. "I saw Dana the other day," she said, clutching a bag of apples like they might explode. "She's different now." I nodded. "She's not seeing anyone," Rachel added, moved back in with her sister. Then lower, "She told me she dreams about you. Said she doesn't know who she was married to anymore." The truth is, Dana didn't really lose a husband. She lost the version of herself she projected onto me. She married what she thought was a soft target. A placeholder. But I was never that. I was a ghost wearing a wedding ring. And she invited a ghost into her life. Then tried to kill him with boredom, betrayal, and manipulation. Didn't work, because I wasn't afraid of disappearing. I'd been waiting for the right moment to vanish again. There was one last thing I had to do. My civilian identity, Rick Wallace, had served its purpose. But I didn't need it anymore. Filed the final paperwork under a long-dormant operative clause. One that allowed me to officially decommission the alias with federal oversight. No debt, no record. Just gone. Dana would never be able to trace where I went next. The paperman was no more. But I will tell you this. I live up north now. Small town. Own a little auto garage off the highway. Cash only, low traffic. Locals call me Walt. Got a dog. Golden retriever mix. Quiet. Loyal. Doesn't judge. That's all I need. Sometimes I get asked if I'll ever date again. I could. Because I don't lead with the truth anymore. And if someone gets too curious, I let them think I'm boring. It wasn't military. It wasn't tactical. Just a whisper from a guy who'd seen too much and said too little. If someone wants to hurt you, give them nothing. Then watch what they do with it. Dana did everything she could to hurt me. And in doing so, she revealed everything I needed to see. The last time I saw her, months after everything was over, she was in line at a gas station. Didn't see me. She looked tired. Worn down. Like someone carrying a secret they can't unload. She held her phone like it weighed 5 pounds. Scrolled through nothing. I watched her for a beat longer. No confrontation. Just a silent, clean extraction. I never told my cheating wife about my past as a Marine sniper and current FBI operative. Part 5. I didn't get even, I got free. I never told Dana what I really did for the government. Never told her where the money came from. What the tattoos on my ribs meant. Or why I flinched when doors slammed during thunderstorms. She once asked if I'd ever killed anyone. I told her, no, not in a way you'd understand. She laughed, thought I was being poetic. I wasn't. The thing about revenge, real revenge, it's about clarity. It's about stepping out of the story someone else tried to write for you, and burning the pages on your way out. A step down in pay, in status, in everything she thought she was climbing toward. Her nursing license never got revoked, but the review board put her on a compliance watch list, which means she'll be flagged for every promotion, every hospital transfer. That file will follow her longer than I ever did. Michael? He's still blacklisted. Not criminally charged, but privately iced out. Companies don't like risk, especially when it comes wrapped in arrogance. One consultant whispered to the right firm was all it took. He tried to go solo for a while. Even reached out to mutual contacts to see if I'd bury the hatchet. I didn't respond, because there was nothing left to swing. As for me, not because I have to, but because I want to. The quiet hours before sunrise feel like mine again. No staged good mornings. No fake kisses on the cheek. No pretending to be less so someone else can feel more. Just black coffee, engine grease, and a dog that thinks I hung the moon. Something I haven't said out loud in years. I always knew Dana would leave me. Not because I wanted her to. Not because I deserved it. But because I recognized the type. I'd met her before. In briefing rooms. In foreign cities behind false passports. People who need you small. So they can feel big. People who use intimacy as reconnaissance. And when they've mapped you out, they attack the soft spots. But here's what Dana never understood. I wasn't protecting myself by being distant. I was protecting her from discovering who I really was. Because once that mask comes off, there's no going back. She thought I was boring, emotionless. She had no idea I was trained to survive interrogation without breaking. That I could sit for 72 hours in a hole without moving a muscle. She never saw what I'd buried. She just assumed the silence meant weakness. But silence was how I won. There's a moment I think about sometimes. A small one. We were at a restaurant, maybe 6 years ago. Dana was laughing too loud. I was scanning the exits, like I always do. You're always so serious. You should smile more. I just looked at her. And in that moment I knew. She didn't love me. She loved the idea of being adored. She loved the mirror, not the man. I don't hate her. That would take energy. I don't spend any more. I don't want her to suffer. I want her to remember. To remember that she underestimated someone who had nothing to prove. Someone who could have blown up her life in a dozen ways, but chose a clean burn instead. A man who let her believe he was nobody. Until she gave him every reason to remind her he wasn't. The last photo I ever took of her, she was standing in front of our house, suitcase in hand, sunglasses on, waiting for her Uber. She looked triumphant, like someone who thought she just outplayed the man standing 10 feet away. I saved that photo, not to look at her, but to remember the moment I let go, because I wasn't staying behind. I was moving forward. So if you're listening to this wondering why a man like me would share all this, it's not for sympathy. It's not for applause. It's because silence is heavy. And after carrying it for decades, I'm ready to put it down. I was never just a paper man. I was a mirror. And Dana, she destroyed her reflection.